Paul, speaking a few days after Saturday's game against Notts County, any further reflections on the performance after watching it back?
Yeah, I thought we did well in general, and that, make no mistake, we're not happy about the result, and as I said on the day, we never will be when it doesn't go our way, but these sort of ways to play still, and a lot of what we discussed and worked on I think came out, so that shows that the players were listening and taking things on board. Some obviously disappointments in terms of certainly a couple of the goals. I think the second one, there's a sort of bad decision involved in it, but then it's a bad fortune for us. But overall, we know it was going to be a difficult game. That proved to be the case, but I thought there were a lot of positive to take from it. Genuinely, that's not. Hopefully, people know me well enough. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'll say what I genuinely think, and I was happy with a lot and quite encouraged by a lot of what I saw. Unfortunately, we came out the wrong side of the result.
And just looking ahead to tomorrow's game, what are the areas you're looking for your team to improve on?
I think looking back at it, we get in some good positions, and we're never going to make the right decisions all the time, because we would basically might as well give us a title now if that was the case. But at the same time, we have to try and improve that decision making in key moments. That's probably in general. I'm talking more at the top end of the pitch. Occasionally, that's defensively as well, and just maybe managing the game at certain moments. But spoke about the group as a whole, and also getting to know us and what we want, and making sure that everything's clear in his minds of what we're trying to achieve. So that will come. But what I do want is I want a win to celebrate, as the same as everyone else, and that's players, that's fans, of course it is. And again, it's going to be difficult against Salford, one of the favoured teams, but we'll be going all out to try and make that happen tomorrow night.
You've got another 2 games in 5 days off the back of a busy start to the season. Are you expecting to shuffle your pack a little bit tomorrow and Saturday?
I think plenty of players will get minutes. Now, I'm not going to sort of even second guess myself in truth about whether that's sort of coming off the bench or whether that's changing the starting lineup. But I think we've seen the importance. I thought the game at the weekend, you could see players start to tire, and on both sides. And maybe that was, I'm not sure that the game will be played out quite the same as it was at the weekend, in terms of how quick the tempo was, the work that was putting in on both teams, in terms of a lot of sort of side to side movements as well as up and down the pitch, quick restarts in the main, which the players didn't get much time to breathe, genuinely. So I'm not sure it'll always be exactly the same, but we're seeing already that there is more games going on for longer, and the ball's in play more. So that's gonna, and again, the sort of physical stats which we get, I'm sure ours aren't the only team. I'm sure it'll be across the board, but we're trying to get to understand what our sort of benchmark is, what's the norm for these games this season, because at the weekend, in terms of certainly the overall distance that was covered by the team, was absolutely through the roof. Now, I think it will be one of the higher ones, as I've just said, but at the same time, I'm sure we'll have others that are going to come close to that. So more physical efforts required. On top of that, will there then be more injuries, etc.? I think there probably will be across it all. So we've got to try and understand that, and certainly for myself, that's part of it, to try to understand. And I've heard some other managers talking about utilising the squads. So yeah, but at the same time, you've still got to try and get your best team out, or what you think's the best team, whether that's just internally, whether that's to match up against opposition, to give ourselves the best chance of winning games.
One thing you've started doing this season that perhaps haven't in previous seasons is naming the goalkeeper on the bench.
Yeah.
What's the thought process behind that one?
I think a little bit around the keepers that we've got. I think that's part and parcel of it. And certainly in Jake's case, he has had a couple of injuries. We're touch wood hoping they're behind him, but I think until maybe either has a run of games, that might just be sort of in the back of my mind slightly. But again, also having someone like Harvey, and look, I'm talking now as in what I selected at the weekend and the first two league games, I suppose. But that might change around very quickly. But if it did, and it's not through injury, then I would still go with the two keepers. So that's just a little bit of a change, I suppose. Not saying I'll stick to that forever, because I always think nearly every time you pick a bench, you think could just do one more. Which with the 9 subs, I probably would have liked 10 if we'd have voted that way. But at the same time, the 9 subs would have certainly made it a little easier.
Otis, Khan and Almada did a bit of a small session out on the field today. Donovan Wilson didn't. What's the situation with those three at the minute? Yeah,
I think no big drama in terms of Donovan not being out on the grass, but he's still just feeling that hamstring a little bit. The other two moving closer, so slightly more ahead. As you said, they did a session on the grass, albeit very light. Just for sort of some clarity and honesty, they won't be involved in the match day squad tomorrow. I don't mind saying that, and Salford can have that if they want it. But it's a positive. It's a step certainly in the right direction for them. But nothing's changed realistically in terms of time frame. Certainly not what I've been informed of. So we spoke about potentially training the week in the lead up to the Walsall game. We'll see if that's the case still. That'd be great. But as always, we all know that can change. Hopefully it doesn't.
And just finally looking at tomorrow's game, Salford starting with 4 points from 6.
Yeah.
What are you expecting from them?
And a win at Preston in the Cup after being a couple of goals up. We looked a very good side. I think they've changed system a little bit in these opening games, but I think the fundamental, they want to try and get on the ball. They want to sort of have more possession, and as I said before, they're one of the favourites for promotion. That they have been probably since they got promoted into the league. I don't think that's ever going to change. I don't see that happening. Maybe until they get promoted to League One, and then they still might be seen as one of the favourites. But they went close last season, lost out, narrowly in the playoffs. We'll be hoping to go better and get that promotion. As you said, they made a good start, so not an easy game at all. But we knew that right from the off. There's not easy games anyway, but certainly in terms of the fancied teams, we saw what the fixture list threw up. We've got to rise to that challenge, and hopefully the players will do that. Hopefully they can get the crowd involved. We certainly need to do better than we did against them last season, when after a slow start we did get back level, we're doing well, and then just gave goals away. And it doesn't matter the quality of the team, we can't be giving goals away as we did on that night. So we're hoping for much better, and as I said, the ultimate aim is to try and get that first win of the season.